Hello, everyone. My name is Monica Gleberman, and you're listening to Silence on Set podcast. For this podcast, we spoke to the cast from the popular Space Oddity, which is showing currently at the 2022 Tribeca Film Festival. Enjoy Kyle Allen, Alexandra Shipp, and Madeline Brewer as they talk about the film, the festival, and all things we could expect for the movie. Okay, so I'm just jumping into it. First of all, obsessed with the movie. There's so many layers to this film, but I want to start off with the three of your characters in particular. All three of your characters view the idea of possibly going to space and or the idea of the Earth's current situation differently. Madeline, for you, for Liz, I think she changes her perspective over time. Obviously, like Kyle, Alex definitely changes some perspective over time. And then I think for Daisy, she's just living in the moment, which is kind of like the spirit of the movie, like just enjoying what you have at the time. So for the three of you, what did you do to prepare for that? Because we are facing such climate issues and the three of you represent such different kind of mindsets that people have.
I think that for my character's name is Liz. I think that for Liz, it's very pragmatic and very practical. And she's kind of coming from basically ignoring everything that's happening, which I think is something that we all like to do from time to time. I think it's a little bit necessary to take a break, but she's been on an extended hiatus from paying attention to what's going on and then being thrust back into this former life of hers and with this family. And I think that she looks at it really as, I'm going to do what I can here now to try and help my family and help in the ways that I can. Like, she's very do no harm, but take no shit. That's kind of Liz's thing for me. And I think that's that for me.
Yeah, definitely. To prepare, I learned a ton about like Mars and space travel and what people think about colonizing Mars. And then I kind of just leaned into, when you learn about the environment and what's going on with it, you typically get really devastated and you want to recede and withdraw and distract yourself with something. And I think the effort that needs to be put in place is to not do that, to find a way to address those things. And so I got to actually just not. I got to just follow that rabbit hole and just escape and just run away into outer space in Alex's case, which is how he handles his problems.
Mm-hmm. It's so relatable. For Daisy, I think that I was really fortunate that I got to play someone who had similar views to me, which was just like, find the beauty, find the funny. I go inward in my own ways, but I think that if you can't laugh at the problem or try and funnily find the loving solution, then like you're just gonna cry. And we can all do that. And I think that she sees Alex going inward and is like, no, don't run for the darkness. Like, just try and bask in as much light as we possibly can while we can. And there are moments of beauty. And if you just embrace these things, then it doesn't feel so much like the world is ending, because in a lot of ways it is. So my prep was pretty much just like, hey girl, live your life, go for a hike, find some beauty, be outside, remind yourself why you love this planet. Because sometimes, especially when it comes to humans, you can be like, why?
Yeah, there's like an underlying current, of what's going on with the planet and how people view it. And yet the story is told in such a way where the focus, it's there and there's a discussion to be had there. But the focus is very much in particular for Liz and Alex, how they related to their brother, dying and how they're responding to it. And it's such a nice metaphor because it's not thrusting like, that there's an issue with the earth in your face, but it is making you think about it and why they're reacting the way they're reacting. So for, I guess for the two of you, for Madeline and Kyle, for you guys, when you read something that's multi-layered like that, where there's like this overhanging of, yes, there's climate and there's going to be issues and conversations, hopefully that people will have, but we're also acting because our characters are doing reactions based off of a loss. how do you kind of like compartmentalize that in the acting process to show that on screen?
I think I would have to put that in Rebecca Banner and Kira Cedric's court. And I think they did a really good job of, I mean, it's really, really well moderated throughout the script. We don't talk about it, so you're not really sure what happens until later, which I think is a really powerful way to approach that. And I think Kira did a great job of regulating kind of the hints and the how hard are we playing it? Are we just trying to have a good day today, or like, is it eating us to death today, or whatever it was? But I think it, because when you read it, you know it's there, and I think that's all that's really required in the performances. Is just your character knows that this has happened, and then you kind of deal with the circumstances as such.
That really covered it. But I think that we were talking about this earlier actually with Val, and like as a community, as a humanity, we are experiencing like the collective universal grief of our planet slowly dying, and we are the cause. And then there is like the much smaller, much more intimate grief of this family. And we're dealing with it on two very different levels, but it's in the day-to-day for each character. And I think that it is beautifully played in the movie, just how delicately, and that is definitely Rebecca and Kira, and how delicately they play the overreaching grief of what are we going to do about this, and how delicately we were able to experience the grief of the loss of our family.
And how is it for you guys for the arc of each character? Because you guys go through such a huge, I think all three of you, go through such a huge kind of transformation. I would say Daisy maybe the least, only because she's always so positive and happy and kind of cool from the beginning. But I think there's such a huge arc. The ending in particular, to me, was so hopeful. And it was saying like, we can have hope. It's okay. Like there's ways of doing it. And like, Kyle, your character finds a way of helping out the environment in a different way, and including space in his life. And, now you have Liz, so Maddie's like character, like now saying, I'm going to take over the farm and I'm going to start doing it. So everyone kind of slowly shifted a little bit. And it was so nice and hopeful, because I think every time you talk about the climate, it's so negative and all of these other things. And then if you're dealing with loss, it's a lot of negativity, but the hope that was there was so beautiful. So what did you guys, think in terms of like the ending or the arc of your characters, and adding that hope in to make sure people leave and they're like, I feel great? Because I watched it and I was like, I feel so good, like after seeing it, versus being upset that this is happening.
I think it's really important in storytelling and in filmmaking, like it's to have kind of the grim realities of it, but also to, approach those things with joy. Because I think we're a lot more effective if we can approach that type of work and that type of thought process with levity.
You gotta have a spoonful of sugar in order to help that medicine go down. And I think that in a lot of ways, I mean, I love documentaries and docuseries, but sometimes it's like, and then everyone died. Mm-hmm. And you leave it feeling like, well, where is the hope? And what I love about this movie is there is hope, and it's not just solely based around an environmental aspect, but also how humans can deal with life, with love. It's like there is hope out there if you just kind of change your perspective a little bit and see it from a lighter place. I think when it comes to Daisy, she started out in the movie running from something and finding a light in Alex, and allowing herself to open up to it and not be afraid of it and not run from it. And I think that that's really important for us humans to do, is to remind ourselves that we are not only worthy of love, but can have it.
Yeah. And, that's so beautiful too, because you're kind of like an outsider, your character coming into this group, but in the end, you relate to them on so many levels, and shows that a stranger that you can meet in 2 minutes, you have a connection with. And yet the siblings, right? The two, like Maddie and Kyle, for the two of you guys, you are totally like fighting in the beginning, right? Like typical siblings, but then the end, completely different, and are full, like a family is starting to form again. And so it's just interesting that if everyone just calms down and talks to each other, right? There's a way of kind of forming a connection.
Yeah. Love and loving communication and honesty goes such a long way. And it goes across romance, friendship, familial, if you can just open yourself up to that, to be able to receive it, to be able to have the strength to show it, I think it makes a huge difference.
So I just wanted to ask you guys, like I said, I love it. Kyle, you best I've ever seen you, and I've seen all of your work. You're fantastic in this film in particular. But girls, I love you too, and I love both of you too. But for just final question for fans, what would you want to tell people why they should tune in and watch this movie, why they should find it, whether it's at Tribeca, somewhere else? Because I really think it's a very important movie for people to watch for a multitude of reasons.
I would say watch it for pure enjoyment, and I think you'll also get some other things out of it. But definitely, we made a film that wholly on its own is really lovely.
I think you should watch it because I look really good as a blonde.
Yeah, you do.
You do. You always do. Yeah. Okay, well, perfect. That's it.
Thanks, Monica.
Thank you, Monica.
You guys are so great. I love you guys. Thank you for listening to Silence on Set podcast. My name is Monica Gleberman. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more interviews to come.